Hi, this is John with John's Workshop, and in this episode we're going to take a look at this 2011 W164 ML350 and try to figure out why the air conditioning doesn't appear to be working. Here I've got the star system all set up, and I'm going to do a diagnostic on the air conditioning system to see if the computer can tell us what is wrong with the air conditioner. Okay, here we go with the refrigerant circuit test. So this tells you it's got to be at least 10 C, which is right around 50 or so degrees Fahrenheit. And then it tells you it takes about 10 minutes. So we'll go ahead and start that. It says start the engine, switch on the blower at maximum, set the air conditioning to maximum, and position air distribution to center outlets. So I'm going to go ahead and do that here. So we've got cooling on maximum, and the fan is on maximum. And we've got the air coming out the center outlets. Okay, I can feel it. Actually feels a little bit cold. And now we're going to start the test. You can hear it doing something, like changing the blower speed. I don't know if you could pick that up on the video, but the blower speed seems to be changing. Sending us back some information here. So it's saying that the evaporator temperature is 18, coolant temperature is 89, engine speed is right in the right range here. Pressure of the refrigerant looks about right. It's 5 and it's supposed to be between 2 and 33. So now we'll continue with the test. Says test sequence, perform function check with respect to customer complaint. Is the complaint rectified? I'm going to say no here. We'll see what happens. All right, so we already did this. All right, pressure of the refrigerant circuit does not increase. It says perform visual inspection of the belt pulley, refrigerant compressor. Does the shaft turn together with the pulley? So they're asking us to go take a look at that. And so we'll go take a look at it. So there you can see the compressor turning and the shaft in the middle is also turning. Alright, so since the shaft was turning, we're going to answer yes here. And now it's doing something else. It says the refrigerant pressure test was not okay. So it wants us to evacuate the refrigerant circuit, weigh the extractor refrigerant compared to the specified filling capacity. In the possible causes here, they say valve jamming / stiff, and by that they mean the solenoid valve in the compressor that controls the swash plate. I've got a set of gauges connected to the car now. High pressure hose comes down here, and it's an interesting port. It's on the front of and top of the condenser here, which if you're not used to working on this car, that's kind of an odd location, but that's where the high pressure port is, and then the low pressure is right here on top of the suction line going in here. So got those connected up, and the pressures look pretty similar. So the low pressure gauge here is saying somewhere around 65 or so. High pressure gauge is probably more like 80, something like that. But I'm going to start the car, and with max air conditioning, we'll see what we get. All right, I'm going to start the car and see what happens. Well, it looks like not much of anything's happening. We've got a little bit of suction pulling this pressure down here. High pressure really not doing much at all. That's almost the same as it was before. So we've got a potential situation here where either the compressor's not doing anything, or I'm wondering if the thermal expansion valve is possibly stuck open. But I would think that even if it were open, you'd still see more on the high pressure side than what we're seeing here. I've got the recovery machine connected to just the high pressure line to the high pressure port here. See that? And starting to recover. You can see where we are right now, 0.84 pounds. And what we're looking to see is how does that compare with the 2.13 pounds that we're supposed to have in the system. It's been 10 or 15 minutes, and we're reading a recovery of 2.12 pounds, which is pretty much right where it needs to be. So from this, I can say that we do not have a leak in the system. At this point, it looks like the solenoid valve in the compressor shown here that controls the swash plate is bad. So you can get another one of those by getting the model number here off of the compressor itself, and then going to a company called RKX Tech, which you can find on the web, and you can get one of those solenoid valves for approximately $60 or so, and they're really good about sending it fast. Here's where I am with removing the compressor. So I've got the front of the car up on ramps and pulled the air duct off of here so you can get a little bit of access to the top of the compressor. The poly belt is removed from the compressor there, and from underneath, so far I've just taken the electrical connector off here, which you can see here. So I've just connected that. Shaft turns nice and smoothly, so hopefully the compressor is good, and it's just that solenoid valve in the compressor. So the next step is to pull the Freon out and then disconnect those two lines, and there are 3 bolts that hold the compressor on. I'm connected into the high pressure port here on the top of the condenser, and we've got the recovery machine pulling the recovery out. See, we're at about 1.2 pounds so far, and we've got about 2 pounds total that's going to come out of there. Got my nitrogen bottle ready to hook in. Well, it's not hooked in yet. It's just sitting there to the circuit to pressurize with about 10 psi of nitrogen once I recover all the Freon. To get the more forward hose, this is the connection. So I use this, you can see universal joint down there. It's a 6mm Allen coming all the way up to here to get that loosened. So that gives you an idea of how to get the most forward one. To get to the aft hose on the compressor, it's a little bit harder. I'm going to use a suggestion I saw on the internet where we loosen this. This is the power steering. There's a banjo bolt here. I'm going to loosen this, and then I can move that hose just a little bit farther forward to give me a little bit more space to work in there. So I moved this line right here just a little bit closer to the pulley right here. Gives me a little bit more clearance down below. Then down below, I've got my Allen wrench right here that's on the bolt. Now that I've moved that power steering line up here just a little bit farther away, the end of the Allen wrench has a little bit more travel there, and I can make sure that it's actually in the Allen socket head cap screw there. So here's the compressor ready to go back in. I've replaced the solenoid valve here, and I've got new seals. So the old one is on the right, the new one's on the left. In addition to that seal for the high pressure side of the compressor, which I just happen to have kicking around the house because of the Lincoln Town car. So you might have to get that one at AutoZone, but this is the suction side. So you want to replace this too. You can see there it is. I ordered this from FCP Euro, and there's the part number. It's funny, it's got a BMW number on there, but this is actually for the Mercedes ML350. So don't forget to replace your O-rings at the compressor when you reinstall it. This arrangement here was instrumental in getting the very back bolt that holds the compressor on. It's so hard to get your fingers back in there. You really can't work back there hardly at all. And so I've just got this, this is the E12 socket, and then I just have a converter from 3/8 to quarter, so I could get my little ratchet in there, and with that I was able to more easily get the bolt in and out. After getting the air conditioning system all back together, I'm running the test here in the star system to see if that resolved the problem. Ran the test, and this is what it's telling us, that the refrigerant pressure is good, evaporator temperature is good, and the current consumption of the compressor is good. So far so good. This is the original solenoid valve that came out of the compressor, and I've got a 12 volt power supply here. I apply 12 volts across here, nothing happens. You can't hear it moving, so there's something wrong with the coil there, burned out or something, but you don't hear any solenoid motion inside the valve here. So that was definitely the problem. And the new valve is working fine in the car. It's apart a little bit. Took the O-rings off and these fine mesh filters. The filters were actually clean. There wasn't really anything at all in the filters. But I guess that just protects the valve passages in there from any kind of dirt. But you can take this part out by sort of opening up this pressed in seam here. This is really a closed unit here, sealed unit. This is just the unit that has the windings in it. I think there's also a diode in there, but there it is, 0Z13T. And then this unit here is also pretty much sealed. There's really no way of getting in there to do any kind of repair work. To see what's inside here, so I'm going to use the Dremel tool here to cut this off again. Hindsight, I probably didn't need to cut this. It looks like this was just pressed in. So in other words, the brass piece here was just pressed into here. So I probably didn't need to cut this, but essentially this was what's inside here. Inside the brass valve body here, we've got this component here, which is looks like a bellows that's got some gas in there. So as the temperature changes, this is going to expand and contract, and that pushes against the valve seat here, which is going to open and close the valve. And then you've got the solenoid, which it doesn't move very far. You can see just a tiny little bit, enough to push this off the valve seat. And so you've got these two forces counteracting each other. And essentially when the solenoid is activated, then you're going to allow a certain amount of pressure to go through the passageways. So none of this really is serviceable. If the valve goes bad, we didn't hear it clicking, you kind of know it's bad. This is just more of a curiosity to see the components on the inside. So Hope this was helpful, and thanks for watching.